All right, everybody, welcome into Variant Roundtable, Episode 2, Snapshot 6 is inbound. So I'm going to give it a few minutes here to let everybody get in. Remember, this is a roundtable, so all voices are welcome to request to speak. We're all going to talk and speculate about Snapshot 6, the teasers we've been seeing, the cleaners, AI, all of the above. So again, I'm going to give it a few minutes, let some people jump in, and yeah, let's see how this goes. So I'll turn the mic back on in just a minute. Let's get some people in here. I'll go ahead and start with the most obvious stuff. So we have, let's see, let me pull Twitter down here. I'm going to bring up Midnight Society's Twitter. So a few days ago, Midnight Society tweeted out a image of the Roman numeral 6, and this is what really started the marketing train, if you will. This was obviously the hint at the Snapshot 6 incoming. And what's really interesting is the coloring, right? It's very different from Snapshot 5 cold storage. It's very fiery. I've talked about this at length in some YouTube videos, as well as other creators throughout the existence, if you will. And it's pretty. It looks very reminiscent of some concept art from the Foundry Sector 5, which we barely have any information on that. Just a couple of concept arts, some random text, not a lot to go on. And but this marketing is very purposeful, right? It's very Midnight Society doesn't do anything on accident. They're very purposeful in what they do with their visual language, and they love to drop teasers and hints and Easter eggs and things like that. So the other day that dropped, and then shortly thereafter they dropped a teaser for a new community event, which is today, later tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific. They're doing a Capture the Dev. So, if you jump into DEADROP tonight and you want to participate, you got to sign up in the Discord. It is at 5 p.m. Pacific. There's a $500 prize pool split between first, second, and third, plus mystery merch. We don't know what that is. That sounds great. And then, the rules are, if you have to capture the developer's tag, but there were some extra rules. You had to also, be able to figure out who they are, which, that one was a little bit obscure, but, we're going to go with it, because they said that the developer wouldn't be using their normal account. So I think we just are supposed to guess by their voice, is what I'm assuming. So anyway, if you successfully capture the tag and make it out and show proof of that, and then you can say who they are, then that's, whoever has the most of those is who will win. So that's really cool. That's going on tonight, again, at 5 p.m. Pacific. And yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be live streaming. We're going to be doing here probably at 6 p.m. Eastern. So 6, 5, 4, 3. So what is that, like 3 Pacific? I'm going to be doing Variant Intel, and we have a special guest. He's a Variant, a fellow content creator, and we're going to have him on, and that's going to go on. And then after Variant Intel, I'm going to roll right into my live stream to participate in the Capture the Dev event. Now, moving on to, before I move on to talking about this teaser image that they showed, I wanted to go ahead and remind everybody that if you're just joining in or you're interested in joining in, feel free. Variant Roundtable is for the community. It's for everybody that wants to, hop in and talk and speculate about the game and what's going on and all those things. So yeah, moving right along, the graphic that they showed is really interesting. it has a it looks like a table from the hideout, right? It's a big wooden bench, you know, and there's 4 variant helmets on the bench, and the visor cortexes have question marks. There's also 3 different smoke grenades laying around, 3 or 4. And then there's also a frag grenade, which we don't have in the game yet. This is new. So a hint at getting frag grenades. And then in the background, there's one of the Sen training dummies. And he's also wearing an armor vest, which is new. In the hideout before, the firing range, we had, you know, the synthetics, the dummies, but they didn't wear armor. So to me, it's kind of a hint that we could be getting not only the firing range back, but when we do, that we could be getting a way to test weapons and damage numbers based on the different armors that the dummy could be wearing. So I really hope that's what it is. I think that's going to be great. You know, weapon breakdowns and weapon tuning and all this stuff. I mean, as the player, you know, we want to test damage numbers, what makes sense. Throughout the last few months with Snapshot 5, a lot of us have been able to figure this out organically, but it's always nice to go into something with a fresh build and a fresh gun that comes into the game to be able to just go into the firing range and automatically just test those damage numbers, and you know, it just gives you more information right out the gate. That way you can better plan, kind of see what the meta is and things like that. Of course, damage numbers alone isn't enough to determine the meta, but you know what I'm saying. So I think that would be a really great addition to the game. I'm sure it'll come. I'm sure all this stuff will be in the game eventually, right? It's just right now, DEADROP is in a pre-alpha state, and it's still quite in development. So, you know, there's going to be new features every snapshot that, you know, they're just building on the core foundation and adding to the game over time. So the other interesting thing about the 4 helmets is not only that there are 4 of them specifically, but every one of them has different colored striping on them. And, you know, this is really significant for a lot of reasons. But the most obvious is the fact that it could be an indication of us getting squads, or, you know, whether that's duos, trios, or quads, we don't know. But being able to squad up is something that's been highly requested. It's something that as soon as they put proximity chat in the game and people were teaming up, it's something that they've been, you know, variants and claws alike have been asking for. So, you know, this is a pretty blatant hint at that, if you ask me. I mean, that's my vote. Is I think that's what's coming. But I think the overall most interesting question has got to be the, you know, the fact that this image, which is for an event that takes place today, is something that takes place in Snapshot 5. So the biggest thing, and unless Midnight Society shows something here really soon, I'm going to be real curious about it, because, like, why would they show a teaser for something like that as if it takes place in Snapshot 5? Like, why use a community capture the dev event as a why use that event to market teasers for a lot of features, right? Frag grenade, teams, possible firing range with upgraded dummies. You know what I mean? Like if you want to tease those things, like, and look, we're not complaining, folks. We're not complaining at all. We're just talking and speculating here. But, like, if you are going to tease those things, why tease them in a community event? My biggest question in my YouTube video was, could we be seeing a hot fix update to Snapshot 5 with said features before they launch Snapshot 6? Now, based on the image and the teasers, like, that's a pretty fair assumption. Do I think it's likely? Probably not. I think it's probably just their way to squeeze in a few extra teasers, you know, and, you know, leading up to the eventual Snapshot 6. So anyway, I'm going to mute for just a second. I'm going to move around on Twitter and see what we got going on here. See if we can get some more people in. Welcome in, everybody. We got a couple people popping in. We got William and Shots Will Fire. What's up, guys? Like I said, if y'all want to chime in and request to speak, by all means, this is a roundtable. This is the whole point. And yeah, we're, like I said, I've been talking about the last couple of minutes, just teasers and things that's been going on. And you know, what's going on with the game? What are we speculating for Snapshot 6? All those kinds of things, man. It's a really exciting time, man. I really wish that we could go ahead and play it now, but it will be fun tonight playing with everybody in the community for this Capture the Dev event. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. William says that he is happy to listen in as he has got some stuff going on today. So we appreciate you stopping in, William. We appreciate you being here. Shots, if you have any input or any speculations, I'd love to hear them. Otherwise, I'm just going to be babbling on here while I try to send the word out about the spaces and see if anybody else is interested in chiming in today. I'm hoping to do it around this time of day to see. My hope is that I can catch people on their lunch breaks, and maybe in the future we can kind of revisit what would be a better time. But the thing is I got to bounce that against variant intel since that's going to be happening in the same day. So, but anyway, back to speculation territory. Yeah. So, Midnight Society, like we were saying before, they have this event tonight with a teaser image, and oh, hold on, we got a request to speaker. Let's get Shots up on the stage right now. All right, Shots, the floor is yours, sir. How are you? Yeah, doing great, man. So, what do you think about all this Snapshot 6 stuff? What's your predictions? Talk to me, man.
So, one thing I've noticed a lot of people talk about is the helmets that we got in that image for Capture the Dev with the colors on the sides. I've seen a lot of people talk about it pointing towards like squads and like teaming up. I personally don't think that's the case yet. My thought on it.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Tell me why. That's a good take.
So, my thoughts on it so far have been, I know they said there's not a current plan for more tower keys in Snapshot 6. So my thought on the helmets was the coloring on the side is hinting at our first form of character customization, as well as all the visors on the table for the helmets have a question mark on them. And in my head, that was pointing towards like, okay, they're searching for a variant ID or a visor cortex chip. And my thought on it was the whole image was kind of teasing the hideout. So I was thinking it was pointing towards being able to display the variant tags that we get out of match.
Wow, you know what? Both of those are really good points that I hadn't previously considered. Wow, see, this is why we do this, folks. This is why we do these roundtables. We like to get input from other folks around the community. That's the first time I've heard that, and both of those actually could be very well true. Like, I think it's very possible. It also makes a lot more sense if they did that versus trying to introduce an update before Snapshot 6. Like for me, because my speculation was, oh, could we get squads and the frag grenade and stuff as a hotfix update before Snapshot 6, based on the teaser. But now that you say that, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I broke down that image, and I really think the whole thing is just teasing the hideout. So I broke it down from that perspective, and that's where I came to that conclusion with the helmets.
So you don't think there will be any hotfix update for 5? They're just getting ready to launch 6, which that's kind of where my money's at too. But yeah, no, I could see the hideout coming back too. The question mark, the on the visors, what you said about that. Yeah, I really hadn't considered that at all, and that would make perfect sense because I think in the beginning we talked about how like if I killed you in game and I took your tag, like I could like maybe temporarily display it or something, or and if that were to come to pass, I wonder how that's going to work exactly because is it permanent? Can you only display it for like a match and then maybe if you want to display it, you have to reload it for another match or something? Because like, how do you feel about someone being able to wear your tag permanently?
Personally, I don't like that idea. But my thoughts on it come from it was back during around the time Rob did the AMA. I saw someone in the community, I'm not sure who, said it would be cool to have in the hideout like a wall of helmets where you can insert the chips into them when you get them out, and they just display in the hideout, almost like a kill trophy.
Yeah, and that's so for me, that's what I hope it ends up being because yeah, like I don't want someone else to be able to display my visor cortex in the game. Like that's supposed, that's what makes it special for me. And I think you're right. I think that's probably exactly their intent. So they respect the value of the visor cortexes for us. So, but at the same time, it gives us a way to display our war trophies, if you will, and that's like what any gamer wants in any game, right? We want to defeat the bosses and take their stuff and display it. So
Yeah.
cool, man. So do you think we are going to get an entirely new sector?
Um, I think we'll get something very close to an entire new sector. I know Rob said we would get the proving grounds for each sector before it's actually added to the tower. And I think that's what we're going to get. But my thoughts on that are what we see in Snapshot 5 right now for Sector 3. I think each time they add a new sector as the proving grounds, this is what we're going to have. We're going to have something very similar to what we have currently, to where we have a fleshed out map. It's playable. We're all in it together. There's no AI on it yet, but and it's also not at the final art stages yet.
Okay, so with AI, you don't think we're getting any AI, or did I miss something?
I do think we're getting AI. I think that's 100% confirmed at this point. I think when they add sectors in as the proving grounds, we won't have AI in the proving grounds.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah. So what? So you think we'll get like Sector 3? Maybe it's got a little something more pizzazz to it, and the AI and stuff, and then maybe we'll get like a second proving ground style blocked out different map.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Gotcha. Man, yeah. I mean, to for them to give us a whole new sector that is at the level that our current Sector 3 is, I agree. Is I would be very surprised, but at the same time, it's kind of like I don't know, man. Like I feel like whatever, because I feel like we're getting a new sector, or maybe it is a version of the Proving Grounds or whatever. But to have it in that like non-colored blocky format, I'm not convinced on that because of two things. One is the Roman numeral teaser that they showed us because of all the orange and reds, the fiery look to it. And this recent teaser with the AI, the cleaners, you had that same burning aesthetic. So I'm like, well, if we're not going to get a whole new sector that's to the art level of Snapshot 5 cold storage, then perhaps instead it will be like part of a section of Sector 3 that will eventually lead into Sector 5, the Foundry, but maybe it's like the corridor between the two sectors or something, right? Or you know what I mean? Like maybe we go onto the other side of Sector 3 and there's this one area that's like a lead up to what will eventually be a new sector, and it's kind of themed out like that new sector. I guess I could kind of see that.
So yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as you. I think we won't get like the blocked out version like we had in Snapshot 4. I think the proving grounds are going to start out when we see them as what we see now in Snapshot 5, where we have these beginning art stages. The map is a little fleshed out in that aspect, but it's still not quite the final version of it. But yeah, I don't think we're going to get the blocked out versions again, especially with all the teasers we're having that look very similar to the colors and concept art.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with that. Like they're putting too much emphasis on the visual language and the atmosphere and the color palette for me to be like, look, to me, it's one of two things. Either we're getting a whole new sector that's at least as colorized as Sector 3, or they're taking a portion of Sector 3 that we haven't seen yet and kind of just giving us a taste in that way. Now, I do want to talk about these cleaners. Shout out to Joker. Joker did a really good video with some breakdown stuff with quotes from Doc from like 10 months ago that kind of explains what these cleaners could be and how they could exist and all that. And based on the teaser and what Doc said in that clip, it all makes sense. So for those that miss it, and again, shout out to Joker for doing this video. It was really good. But basically, Doc's explanation was there would be an event that happens, like some players get killed or something, and these AI, these cleaners come in to retrieve the body and the loot, and you're faced with the decision, do I try to take them out and get that loot and risk them killing me, or do I just ignore them and kind of let them go about their day, right? So based on the teaser they showed yesterday or the day before, I forget which it was, they that seems kind of like what they're doing. But these cleaners, man, they also just kind of like vanish like cloaking devices or something. So I don't know if that's supposed to be how they spawn in and out of the map, or if they literally have cloaking tech and now we have a bigger problem. Like what's your thoughts on that, Shots?
So as far as all that, one thing I want to point out, and this is by no means my thoughts personally. I mean, I'm starting to agree with them, but something Spaceman pointed out to me is he doesn't think the three figures that we saw in the teaser are the cleaners themselves. And the more I go back and watch that video, I have to agree with it. I feel like the cleaners are going to have a very uniform, distinguished look. And the three characters that we see are very unique and unlike anything we've seen yet, even in concept art, which of course can change. But I think Joker could be dead on with the way the cleaners could work, especially after pulling those quotes from Doc. Yeah. And then the other thing in that teaser, the little video they dropped yesterday, that is definitely, I've heard some people say it's teleporting. It's definitely invisibility. It's cloaking. You can see, if you slow it down, the figure on the right, he starts to run before he fully disappears. And it just personal thought, you wouldn't start running if you're going to teleport. My thought is you just kind of stand in place and disappear. But he breaks off into a full sprint as he starts to disappear. So I think that's going to be something, maybe a gadget or something we're going to have to look out for in Snapshot 6. Maybe we're going to have some kind of camouflage or cloaking device.
Yeah. So, shout out to Spaceman. I love his effort that he puts in, and he does, man, and he really breaks down, gets to the nitty gritty. Really good on the lore stuff. If y'all aren't following him on Twitter, look him up. But I think I saw that same thing from him. I think he's onto something. I'm probably about like 60-40, more leaning towards he's probably right that those three figures are maybe those weren't the cleaners, because
and one of the things I believe that he said another reason why he doesn't think so is because the text at the bottom left says Alliance Unknown, right? Like if the cleaners are this universal element in the tower, everyone would know what and who they are and how they operate. And these three figures, they have a specific silhouette. There's a lot of detail. And yeah, when it says Alliance Unknown, you're thinking to yourself, like, maybe it's some other variants or a different faction that, again, whoever's from the first person point of view, they don't know who these guys are. And yeah, they have this cloaking tech that I agree. I think that's what it is too. I think it's a hint at cloaking tech. My biggest question with it is it something that we get to possess automatically, or is it just whoever these enemies are? And if it's just these enemies, am I allowed to loot that mechanic, that gadget from them? Do I have to, do I get the gadget automatically, or do I have to kill a specific faction of enemy to acquire some and put them in my stash? So what do you think?
As far as that goes, I imagine it would be like a limited use gadget that you would have to loot off of one of these specific enemies. And I don't see why we wouldn't be able to use it in game. I guess it comes down to how would you balance it. I mean, obviously, just because you're invisible doesn't mean you're silent. You're still going to make sound, but at the same time, are we going to be completely undetectable to the eye if we get to use it? Or is there going to be a little bit of a blur that you can kind of make out and take a guess that someone's there? So I don't know. It could be strictly for enemies. And if so, I think these enemies are going to be a lot more dangerous than a lot of people think.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really curious about that too. You start adding stuff like invisibility into a game, that's the first thing that gets asked is how is it going to be balanced? Is there going to be a slight silhouette so I can kind of pick you out if I'm paying enough attention? Or is it like full blackout, like you can't see nothing? And in which case, if it was like that, well, it's a good thing the audio in the game is pretty good, right? The directional audio, because we all know that Doc, that's one of his most biggest pet peeves is, bad directional audio in a video game, footsteps and all. So I really think that, look, either way, we're going to get it. We're going to test it. Again, with DEADROP being in pre-alpha, like everything is still going to be developing for at least another year or two as these things get added. And, but yeah, cloaking tech, I'm just curious. So, besides the obvious of what they've teased, I'm really curious if there's going to, there's always something they don't tell us, right? They always like to tease things, but they also like to keep some stuff close to the chest and surprise us. So gadgets is one of those areas I hope that they surprise us with something else too. They've teased a frag grenade, they've teased cloaking potentially. I'm like, what else? Like, I know Rob's talked about going up zip lines instead of just down. There's people that have talked about like grappling hooks and wingsuits and stuff. Like, what kind of gadgets would you hope to see or hope they implement eventually?
So I've heard a lot of people talk about the wingsuit and that they want it and that they think it's coming. I don't think that's coming quite yet. The ones that I've been really keeping my eye on that I kind of want to see, I definitely want to see the grenades. I want to see a new form of them. I think the grappling hook would be a great addition. And I think going up the zip lines, I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. I think it definitely changed the way the game plays for sure. But man, I don't know. That's a big one to change, because right now, playing Snapshot 5, we're always used to, if I'm going down the zip line, I have to have a route back up if I need it. And that zip line's not an option. And I think the other thing you have to look out for there is, what if I'm going down the zip line at the same time someone's trying to go up it? How is that going to mesh together? Or are you not going to be able to use the zip line at the same time? Because right now you can have more than one person go down it, But what if you have a person on each end trying to go up and down? So I'm not sure on that, but the big one I'm on the lookout for is the grappling hook. I think that's a pretty solid guess at something that might be coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah, the topic of going up a zip line to me this is where I stand on it. So if how do I say this? So right now in Sector 3, now the shutdown mechanics for every sector are going to be different from sector to sector. They've already said that. And it's right now with Sector 3, the rising freeze, the shutdown mechanic goes from the bottom up. So zip lines quite literally are zero use to you when the freeze is happening, other than the thrill of taking the zip line extraction and just making it out in time. That's quite fun. But like yeah, if I need to go up very quickly, there is nothing in the game right now that allows you to ascend quickly. So you have two options. Well, there's a lot more options you can do to accomplish that, but for the sake of the argument right now, we're talking about either being able to go up a zip line or use a grappling hook or both. For me, it's like, if you're not going to have the ability to go up a zip line, then you have to have a grappling hook, because the whole point is to traverse quickly both up and down. In a vertical extraction shooter, I think being able to traverse up and down quickly is going to be paramount. And I don't personally care how they accomplish this. I think a grappling hook's probably the best way, the most fun way, based on how grappling hooks work in other games. As far as being able to go up a zip line, I don't have a problem with it. I think to solve the issue that you brought up of like, what's the answer to, can more than one person use them at the same time if they're going in opposite directions? And I think, and this is just my opinion off the cuff, I think a fair approach to that would be, yeah, if I'm trying to go up and someone's trying to go down, well, we got a decision to make. We either hop off or we collide and both fall off. And I think that's probably the most fair way. What do you think about that, just in particular?
I'd have to agree. I like that idea. I feel like that adds an element of risk to it as well, because, I mean, some of those higher up zip lines towards Superlift, if you fall off them at a certain point, you have to grab a ledge to save yourself, or you're going to die to fall damage. So I think that's a really good solution to it, where you're either getting off at some point or it's going to make you get off.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't want characters just being able to clip through and miss each other, because right now the other thing too is, for those that may not know, who haven't jumped into DEADROP yet, when you ride a zip line in DEADROP, you have no access to your guns or anything. You are on the ride until you either jump off or come to the end of said zip line. So we definitely wouldn't want a scenario where, all right, I'm going up and they're coming down, and we can just clip through each other, because there's no real benefit. It doesn't really serve much of a purpose, in my opinion, to allow that. I think if you want to add some real risk reward to it and really make people think about looking both ways before they cross the street, so to speak, before you hop on that zip line, you better look, because if someone's already on it and you run into them, it's going to be the high ground scenario, right? Where it's like, damn, if I bump into this guy and I fall off, what's below me? Is there a ledge I can even grab? Or maybe I know that if I time it right and the guy's unsuspecting, I can jump off and hit the zip line. And then I know, based on the timing, that I'm going to knock him off and I'll survive and he won't. Right. So that could be another fun aspect to doing it that way.
So I really think that's the best way to go about it, personally, if we have it to where you can go up and down. Man, I had another question about the zip lines for you, but it just slipped my mind.
Sorry.
Well, what are your thoughts on, as far as like the grappling hook goes? Because we were talking about that. do you see it as a gadget that is limited use, like you can only shoot it 3 times and then you have to find a new one, or do you see it as a persistent gadget?
Well, so this is a really great question, and I know that there's so many ways that the developers could implement it, and as long as they balance it right, I think any scenario can work. So, like, let's say scenario one, they say it's a persistent gadget. Well, okay. Well, there has to be some balance to that, right? There has to be, you have to either at that point implement a thing where it's readily, well, if it's persistent, then you just have it. You come into the match and everybody has it. And that's how it's balanced because everybody has it. Or you could, if it's going to be persistent, you could lock it to, they could create classes like you have in Apex, or if you've seen that new game, the finals, right? The lightweight class in the finals has a grappling hook, and but the medium and heavy class do not. They have other tools that the light class doesn't have. I don't think I don't think DeadDrop is going that direction. So I think what makes more sense for DeadDrop, and this is just my opinion, and I could see this being closer to what they probably decide. Again, speculation. But to me, it seems like it should be a limited use loot, piece of loot. Like either you find it in the world or you get it off somebody, and it's like a smoke grenade where, you know, it has a limitation to its uses. Now, being that it is a grappling hook, I don't think a one-time use is. I would put it on like 2 or 3 uses. You could put it at 1. I still wouldn't be upset with that because it makes you think really hard before you use it. But a grappling hook to me, yeah, I would say no more than 3 maximum uses before it's burnt, because it should be, in my opinion, a consumable. I don't think DeadDrop should be where everybody's just able to be Spider-Man at all times. I don't agree with that. So long-winded answer.
Yeah, I kind of had the same thought. I don't want it to be, Fortnite where you pick up a grappling hook and you can just, swing across the map in half a second. But the other thing, I remembered my zipline question for you. Do you think we should be able to jump off the zipline and grab it again in air? So, like, if I'm coming down the zipline and I leap up, but I'm still in line with that zip line, should I be able to latch back onto it?
Only if they create the animation that allows you to fling your body upward. I think I know that's kind of a weird way to answer it, but like to me, it only, like, to me, acrobatics on movement coming off of a ledge or a jump or anything, to me, should be based in realism to a point. So like if when you are sliding down a zip line, the animation of the character is my hands let go, therefore I am now free falling, then I would say no. But right now, the animation seems to be like you're literally flinging your body forward, possibly slightly upward. If that is the intended animation, that you can actually fling your body in an upward direction like a slingshot coming off of it, at that point, yeah, I think it should be allowed. But to me, that sounds like that's going to have to be a literal movement, gameplay mechanic decision that the developers will have to kind of solidify. Right now, it seems like you can literally use the zip line to jump off of or up to something, not up per se, but kind of forward. So I don't know, man. That's a really good question. That's a really, really good question. And I guess to me, it would depend on like, what is the developer's vision for that kind of movement? Because I think they would have to intentionally decide, do we want the character to be able to do what you said or not? Right. So I'm going to leave that in the developer's hands to answer that. That would be my answer.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair way to put it. That was completely out of our hands. Personally, I've gone back and forth with the thoughts on it. Like, yeah, right now when we launch off of the zip lines, we're so high that I should be able to grab back onto it at least once. But then at the same time, it's like it takes away the risk factor of jumping off the zip line, because then you could just catch the zip line if you don't think you're going to make your jump. So I don't, that one's going to be up for them, but I think we're going to see a lot of movement like that in the future, just with how we have it now in Snapshot 5. We know they don't want a snail's pace game, but at the same time, that slow down the current pace that we have. And I think a lot of people are going to see that with the AI in Snapshot 6. I think you're not just going to run the map as freely as we are right now.
Yeah, you know, this is another thing that I've seen come up more than once about, like, you know, is it a bug or a feature, right? As far as being able to jump 7 stories down and still be able to grab a ledge. Like, obviously there's nothing realistic about that. And if they're playing with fall damage, then, you know, you should have your arms ripped off too if you're gonna, but at the same time, as a gamer, we all are like, wait, no, dude, this is fun. Like, should be a feature. So I don't know where they're going to go with that. But yeah, you know, it's interesting. You know, really quickly while I'm thinking about it, this, the grappling hook. I think a grappling hook should also, and this is really nuanced, but if the grappling hook is going to be able to grab onto a ledge or whatever, right, and fling you upward, or at least in the direction of that thing, with gravity in play, then I think it should also be able to allow you to grapple to a zip line, right? So let's say I run and jump off the side of a building, and the zip line is close by, but I either missed it or I wanted to throw off my opponent, and I jump off, and then I point the grapple to the zip line, and I grapple to the zip line and then zip line down the rest of the way, or up the zip line if that works, right? Because to me, the grappling hook, especially if it's going to be a limited use case gadget, I want it to be really good, right? Like, because the better it is, the more I'm going to think really hard about using it, right? So that was just a random thought I had about the grappling hook, but yeah, jumping off ledges and being able to grab ledges from like multiple stories up, I wouldn't be surprised if they tweak that to some degree. I don't know what though.
Yeah, the ledge grabbing, as much fun as we all have with it, and I can run around a 2-man lobby and just jump off of stuff for fun and catch stuff. That's how cool of a feature it is. But I don't think the exact version of it we have now is here to stay. I do think it's going to get tweaked, and unfortunately, I think it'll make a lot of people unhappy. But at the same time, we don't need a game 100% grounded in realism. I mean, to an extent, we are somewhat talking about a sci-fi-esque universe. So I'm sure they could explain it away in lore if they really wanted to keep it how it is right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, I want them to play with certain things and lean into the sci-fi bit. But you know, I also don't want it to be just too crazy. Too unrealistic. Like, again, like if you're gonna have fall damage, well, then maybe I'm only allowed to grab a ledge after so many stories of falling. So there's another gadget that was talked about. So we talked about wingsuit and grappling hooks and all this stuff. There is another gadget that I don't know how high it would rank on the priority list for them, or if it'll ever even end up in the game. But when we're talking about fall damage, like, look, this is a vertical extraction shooter. Fall damage is going to kill a lot of players. Like, a lot of players, especially if you're like Timmy Tornado Tenders, you're gonna experience fall damage to the nth degree, right? We've all done it. I know I have, especially right off a zip line. Like, I don't know if it was a bug, but there was a problem where, like, grabbing the zip line wouldn't always register in like Snapshot, what was it, 4. And so anyway, I could see like jump jet boots being a thing, but not like takeoff jetpack style boots. I'm talking about like, they activate, if you have it equipped and you go to fall, and after a certain height, or maybe and like once you start falling and the game detects that, okay, you've reached maximum velocity at this point, whatever you hit next, you're dead. Like maybe that triggers the jump jet boots to basically let you land safely. And if I was going to have a piece of equipment in the game like that, I would want that to be a one-time use. I wouldn't want that to have multiple uses. I wouldn't want that to be able to be spammed, because then again, you're just turning into Spider-Man and there's no consequences. Like that's this game will always have consequences for everything. Everything the developers have said this. Everything we put in this game, everything we want to implement should make you think. It should make you really make hard choices on what makes sense, and for you to take that risk. So yeah, looks like Fat Shady is in the house. Shady, if you want to throw some input in, feel free to request to speak. Again, this is a roundtable. William's still in here. I know Spaceman was listening in. Twitter Spaces is still a little bit buggy for certain people. I know on desktop it's barely works at all on desktop. So if you're listening in, if you can use Twitter Spaces on mobile, that is the best way. So, but anyway, anyone's welcome to request to speak, and if I see that pop up, I will get you in here. So, yeah, gadgets, Snapshot 6. July 11th. Now here's something I'm gonna really throw a curveball at you guys. Now, I saw in the Discord a particular statement that was made about this Snapshot 6 teaser, July 11th. I kept seeing certain people in the Discord say that it is the reveal of Snapshot 6, not necessarily the launch. I'm under the impression that it's the launch, and so is most of everybody else. But I did see certain people say reveal, and I'm really curious. Like, do you think that it would only be a reveal for it to launch like a week later or something like that? Or is, in your opinion, like that's when it's launching? What do you think?
So I'm 100% on the side of that's the date we're getting Snapshot 6, especially looking back at Snapshot 5. They also titled that the reveal event, and that's also the day that everyone got access to Snapshot 5, and they launched Tower Keys, and we've all been in the towers since that day, so I don't see them giving us a date, and the fact that the event is titled reveal date, I don't think that contradicts the idea that we're getting it that day.
Yeah, and a spaceman was saying the same thing in the Discord, which I agree. I just, and I that helps me a lot, because I kind of, like, for a split second got worried, but no, it makes perfect sense the way you said it. Terminologies, yeah, and there's no indication that it would be done any different. When they said March 17th for Snapshot 5, that is when we got it. We got it that same day. So no worries there. I think I'm super excited. How much longer? Let's see. Let me look at the calendar. We got approximately 2 weeks and a few days. It's on a Tuesday. So yeah, we got not too much longer to go. And man, I am just super, super excited. Is there any other things that you think we might get or might see, or any wish list items?
So one thing I've seen a lot of people overlook recently, like back when we were all just speculating Snapshot 6 before we had a date or any teasers, the big thing that we knew was coming was Space Bob. And ever since we got these teasers, Space Bob's just kind of gone under the radar. And I've called out a couple times. I think Space Bob is a big part of the reason why I'm so confident we're getting the hideout back, because in Rob's AMA, he stated that we will be interacting with Space Bob in the hideout. So I don't know what role he's going to play yet, but my thoughts on it so far have been he's going to be possibly a vendor where we can go in and maybe we'll get our first form of currency where we can, buy ammo and backpacks from him, that kind of thing. But what I'm really really edging towards with Space Bob is I think he's going to give us our first in-game tasks. It's going to be, you know, bring me an obelisk, bring me 5 floppy disks, complete the comic collection. And I think we're going to start seeing our first rewards for completing little things like that.
Oh man, now you're getting me all excited because it all makes perfect sense, man. And especially with the imagery they've been teasing and stuff like that. Everyone knows SpaceBob's coming. I mean, they've been teasing it a lot, or they've made enough hints at it, and it's been talked about in AMAs and yeah, I mean, everyone seems to unanimously agree that SpaceBob will end up being some kind of NPC. I don't think he'll exist in any other way. And that, yeah, that would make sense. Like him being a vendor, like, yeah, you do all these things and I've got some special loot you can unlock, which, hey man, you know, and right now in Snapshot 5, you know, the only thing there really is to do, like, sure, you can collect the comics and stuff, but really the only thing there is to do is combat other players. So we understand that Midnight Society's goal for DEADROP is to be a true looter extraction game, you know, and the loot is a very big part of that. So yeah, I totally agree. I think, you know, having vendors or small side quests, kind of like Tarkov or something where it's like, hey, while you're out there doing your thing, if you happen to procure some of these items, we might have a little something for you. I think that's an order. I think that would be great. And yeah, having Space Bob or any other cool characters like that, you know, I just hope they kind of like flesh them out with lore. And I know Rob has said before that lore is not a big focus for them, but I kind of hope that the community convinces them to kind of get more excited about the idea because, and you know, DEADROP is not going to be an RPG, but there's a lot of extraction shooters or other games that maybe they're only multiplayer, but they still have a super rich lore behind them, right? And I don't know. I think the community is really just trying to scoop up every last morsel they can and ask those questions. And, you know, well, where does Space Bob come from in DEADROP? Like, what's his role? Where do the comics come from? Like Rob had to actually work with the team and get an answer to the question of what are the DEADROP comics? I think the way he said he pronounced them is Dirk Sappum. And you know, who writes them, what are they supposed to be, and like they had to get answers to those questions, right? And so I'm on the team, like team lore. Like I want more lore. Give Space Bob some lore. Like give me some fun things to collect in the world that flesh out the story of things, you know, that kind of stuff. What about you, man? What are you know, is there anything on that front that you're kind of hoping for?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm huge on the lore aspect too, and although we don't have too much to dive into right now, and it's definitely not their main focus, we're only going to get more and more as things go on. And I think by the time everything is said and done, we're going to have quite a bit to go through. I'm really hoping we get some more lore on the cleaners since they're coming. I'm hoping we get lore on the proving grounds, definitely on Space Bob. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that we just don't have answers to. Like, I mean, we still don't know what some of the items are even going to be used for. We don't know what the obelisk even is. Maybe we could get lore on something like that. So they could go a million different ways with it, and I'm here for however they go about it. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I was making a joke about the obelisk. I like maybe it's a piece of shungite or something, you know. So I don't know, you know, maybe that would be some of the currency that Space Bob uses since it's all mysterious and who knows, you know.
Well, one thing, and I'll give him credit for this again. Spaceman has a theory on the obelisks too, and he's told me on multiple occasions he thinks it's like compacted, unprocessed space dust, or the final processed version of space dust. So
Ooh,
I don't know.
that's exciting.
There's definitely some thoughts out there for what they could be.
Interesting. So like maybe since it's like a blue-green color, maybe it's kind of like Breaking Bad where they took the space dust, but like it's like 99% pure or something.
Yeah, I mean they could really do whatever they want, and like I said, I'm here for all of it, dude. I'm so pumped for what they've got coming, and I can't wait until we can get our hands on more of it.
Absolutely. Well, we're at about an hour. I like to keep it at around an hour. And Shots, you've been great, man. I really appreciate your input, and you've really gave me something to think about as far as some of these teasers for sure, stuff I hadn't thought of previously. So for everybody else listening, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here, but we'll do this again every Friday around lunchtime, usually about 1 p.m. Eastern. Look, if anyone that's listening to this on YouTube later has any input or comments, be sure to leave a comment below, like and subscribe for all those things, bell notifications so you don't miss out. But we're going to be doing these every Friday, Variant Roundtable, Twitter Spaces with all of you so we can talk all things Dead Drop. In the coming weeks, the marketing is going to get hype. We're going to start seeing more teasers and info, so stand by for that. And the last couple notes are get ready. We're going to be doing Variant Intel live today at 6 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube, on the YouTube channel for me, HELMETFIRE. And also I'm going to be streaming it live on Kick. So kick.com/HELMETFIRE, 6 p.m. Eastern, Variant Intel podcast with our special guest that is not announced yet, but you're going to want to tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun. And after that, we're going to roll right into, we're going to live stream Variant Intel, and then we're going to roll right into Capture the Dead Drop event, where we play off against the developers and try to get their tags and get that first place. So I hope to see you all there. Thank you all, everybody, for tuning in today. And we're going to see y'all next Friday for Variant Roundtable. Hope y'all have a good one.